The people I don't like on these shows. And I don't know, you would think just by accident, they would figure out a way not to screw these matches up. Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, two of the best workers in the business. They're grown adult men. They look like stars. They are stars. Orton's been on top for fucking 20 years. Drew McIntyre, as we've said, has really been the guy penalized by the no fan thing because he's had a great push and would have gotten over. He's worked his ass off. These are the two guys, if you were going to have a cage match, you would probably, on this modern roster, you'd want to have these two guys having it. If they could get a little blood, by the way, 3 matches in a row, Drew McIntyre bled from the mouth, and we'll get to that. But it's... Remember when they had Hell in a Cell matches up until the past few years ago? Didn't most of the match actually kind of take place in the ring? And then they would go outside as the garnish. And yes, I know Taker and Cactus went up to the roof. And now that that's been done, unless you can figure out a way to levitate off or a helicopter can come down and fucking grab you and take off, you shouldn't be on the roof anymore. But the third cage match, you had 2 grown adult men, the top guys, battling for one of the world titles. And they had less weapons than in the girls' match. Less furniture, less weapons. They were also in the ring less. They finally got in the ring to do spots with the chairs that the girls already did, hitting each other. Now I know why Lou Thez wouldn't work shows with the girls and the midgets. One of the girls or the midgets would do the Thez press, and Lou'd be pissed. But that's the thing. Here's the 2 top guys in the company in a cage match, hitting each other with chairs, and we saw girls doing that an hour and a half ago. And then they did multiple spots with the steps, still outside the ring. I actually, at this point, I fast-forwarded to see when they'd get back in the ring. And a couple minutes they did, and it got better. You actually had 2 of the most talented guys in the business taking bumps and doing moves on the stage instead of in the orchestra pit. And then McIntyre made a big fucking comeback. Boom, 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 boom. And did you see the belly-to-belly on Randy Orton through a table on the floor? Was that a heck of a bump, Brian Last? I ask you this, in all honesty. Nice-looking bump, right?
Nice looking.
Okay. Can you imagine what a pop that would have gotten if they'd have had the match in the ring and then gone out and done the shit on the floor, including that? Instead of starting on the fucking floor. Oh, and by the way, I forgot even the actual start. They blew the start. Do you remember that? Drew McIntyre makes his entrance. He's standing looking at the cage, and the floor camera's got the shot of him. And one of the cable pullers for the cameraman, for the other floor cameraman, in the background takes his fucking, he's got a hat and a mask on. He peels the hat off, and the floor camera instantly zoomed in on Orton so you could see him take the mask off, which blew the fucking whole point of the thing. You didn't know that it was Orton until he took the mask off, and they blew the fucking zoom. They went too early.
Did you see the package before the match?
Actually, I think I was at a fast-forwarding point through that also.
Apparently something we missed on, I think, Raw, is that they had a bunch of legends in a room. I think they were playing cards. It was like Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, The Big Show. There was a 4th person. I don't remember who it was. And Randy Orton snuck in dressed like a janitor.
Oh, Jesus.
And put on night goggles.
Oh, God.
And shut off the lights.
Oh, boy.
So that even the cameraman who was in there couldn't see what happened.
Oh, hell.
And he laid everyone out, put the lights back on, and then when security and the agents are running in there to find out what happened, he was back as the janitor, and he had the hood over his head, and he was just like pointing something in there. But it was Randy Orton. It was all captured on film. Thank God it wasn't turned over to the authorities.
So I guess the floor guy blowing the zoom on the reveal of Orton before he had revealed himself wasn't the worst thing on it. But anyway, the whole thing was as I said, they got back in the ring. They did some shit finally, or got in the ring finally. Then they did the belly to belly through the table. Boy, that would have been fucking a great spot if they hadn't seen 20 minutes of floor fighting. And then McIntyre starts doing the whispering in his ear, and which is gotten old already. And at this point, I wrote, how long does this have to be as a match? I mean, Orton gets bolt cutters, opens the cage door, walks out. This took forever. Then McIntyre runs down and gets him. They fight in the aisle. Then Orton climbs to the top of the cage. Why? I dare you to come up here. And McIntyre did. Why? Why would you climb a cage if the guy already on top of the cage is fucking mad at you? Because there's no way if he's not going to let you, you're going to get over the edge of the cage. So they climb up to the top of the cage, but neither one of these guys, I wrote this at the time before there was a bump, neither one of these guys has taken the cactus bump. So therefore, it's going to be a letdown. And why the fuck, unless you intend to take the cactus hip toss off the top of the fucking cell or something even worse, would you even want to go up there? Because you're automatically raising false expectations, and people are pissed off then when it doesn't look as good or better than Cactus's bump, which hopefully nothing ever will. I told him after he did it, I said, now that you've done that, please don't ever do that again. So, and I wrote, can they just have a wrestling match without reshooting Intolerance with the original runtime? The director's cut. Silent fucking movie fans in the audience are going to just shit themselves over that one. And then at a snail's pace, they fight on top of the cage. Orton nutshots McIntyre with the bolt cutters and climbs over the side to go down. McIntyre follows him. Neither one of them is Spider-Man now. And they're climbing on chain link, even though it was painted that obnoxious red. I hate the fucking red, by the way. It made my eyes sore.
Obnoxious red.
Obnoxious red. That was the shade of it. And then they get halfway down, and once again, people are saying, oh, Cornette, well, you want to take the bump? No, I don't want to take the bump from halfway. But to get on the fucking roof, diddle around, and then climb back down, that's like Heyman took the bump in the Memphis scaffold match. He said, Lawler said, you're going to take the bump off the scaffold like your boy Cornette did? Sure, King. And then he fucking climbed halfway up there and said, fuck it, and he took the bump from there, and that's why they fired him. But anyway, I digress.
That's why Lawler broke his jaw, wasn't it?
That's right. He broke his jaw first and then he fired him. But it was the broken jaw was a potato from the guy that never throws. But I'm the only manager that worked Memphis for any length of time. He didn't break his jaw at some point. Anyway, and then McIntyre takes the bump through the fucking table. Now, well, wait a minute. Oh, and while they were hanging on the side of the cage, exchanging weak shots with each other, because you can't fucking make it look good while you're hanging onto a cage or you can't get your fucking feet into the goddamn thing. While they were doing the hanging on the cage, doing that in slow motion, one of the announcers said, this is what this rivalry has come to. And I thought, this is what this business has come to. So McIntyre takes the fucking bump onto the announce desk and busts it, and boom, and it was an impressive looking bump. And the fake fans chanted, holy shit. And McIntyre's bleeding from the mouth. So Orton climbs down the rest of the way and whispers to him some more. And McIntyre is puking. There's not a finish yet here. Nobody's even trying to win. McIntyre's puking, trying to get up. Orton's waiting for him. Samoa Joe is at the only match that Samoa Joe didn't do commentary on was the match between the Samoans. Samoa Joe says, this is too much. You think it's too much. Then they got back in the ring. He's taken the bump from 15 feet through the table. Now they're back in the ring. Where's the chainsaw? Suddenly, the guy that took the fall off the side of the cage through the fucking table is bleeding from the mouth from internal injuries, has been puking at ringside and barely crawled into the ring. Fucking reversed the RKO effort into a backslide and got a 2 count, then hit the Claymore kick. And now McIntyre's trying to put Orton's lifeless carcass back in the ring because after the kick, he fucking rolled out on the floor. And I guess the internal injuries didn't, hamper him too much. He gets Orton back in the ring, then goes for a kick that he misses, and then Randy Orton hits the RKO. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for coming, Drew. Is the experiment over? They've just given up now?
I was surprised they went with that finish. I was disappointed. I said it a while back. I would give Drew McIntyre a long run with the title, which in this era of COVID wrestling wouldn't hurt them and actually would help give him credibility for when there are fans back in there. Give him a long, long run with the title. Instead, Randy Orton is now a 14-time champion.
And thanks for coming, Drew. They just did he not beat Brock Lesnar?
Yep. At WrestleMania.
In March. Here it is, October, and he's done a job already and dropped the title.
To Orton, who doesn't need a title.
And probably doesn't want to be carrying it around an extra weight in his bag.
And boy, those title belts look ugly. Just a big W. Ugly.
Ugly. Well, I don't... Any closing thoughts on that contest?
I hated that match. When Randy Orton climbed up to the top of the cage, I'm thinking, okay, go in the ring. Like, what reason do you have to go up there? There's no incentive. Okay, let's have a let's have a stalemate. You go up there, and I'll be here in the ring, and we'll see what happens. We'll bring this pay-per-view to a halt. I didn't like it. I didn't like this whole event. We didn't even talk about the commentators.
I don't listen because it's always this. It sounds the same kind of thing. And I like Samoa Joe.
He's all right. Michael Cole may be the most counterproductive commentator in wrestling history. And what I mean is, I think he takes away from every broadcast. His style is so fake. And you could say whatever you want about every other commentator in wrestling. Ian Riccoboni and Caprice Coleman, fantastic. They seem genuine. Jim Ross is not what he used to be, but he seems like a real guy. Excalibur's goofy, but he doesn't just talk to the people at home like they're children.
No, he talks to people at home like they're marks in their basement, but at least they're adult marks.
Michael Cole is so counterproductive. Everything he says comes across as forced and disingenuous. I think Corey Graves would be a lot better. In fact, he was in NXT. I was going to say, I'm not a big Corey Graves fan, but he'd be a lot better if he wasn't sitting next to Michael Cole. And everyone Michael Cole trains talks in that same fake way. It makes you tune out the commentators. It makes you not want to hear the commentators. He's just yelling at you the whole match like you're a child. I don't like him as a commentator in general, but when I really thought about just how counterproductive he is to WWE, he is awful. He is the worst commentator maybe in wrestling history because of the influence he has on everyone else who has come into WWE since he arrived. Just garbage.
Kevin Dunn loves him.
Kevin Dunn's another asshole.
You mean to tell me that the fine, upstanding wrestling fan that is Kevin Dunn, you're trying to tell me that Bucky Beaver is an asshole? I take issue with that, sir.
I can't wait for WWE to be sold and for there to be widespread changes in that company. I really can't. It is lost at sea right now. We could say whatever we want about AEW. Every time we go from AEW's awfulness, and there'll never be any excuse for that dinner debonair douchebag garbage. Never any excuse for that. But every time we go from their awfulness and their broadcast and the amateur hour that's on their show to what is supposed to be the major league of professional wrestling, it's a sorry state of affairs in WWE. That show is rotten. They have no stars. They don't know how to create stars. There's bad comedy all over the place. The announcers talk to you like children. WWE treats you like you're a child. There's no incentive to watch again. It's a bad promotion. It's really, really bad. And that's why so many people want to have hope for AEW. Because this complete and utter trash is what's up against AEW. And it's not good. And until Vince McMahon's out of the picture, this is what it's going to be. There's going to be no 6-month run of, wow, things have been great for the last few months. I can't believe this. Will they keep it up? No. If you get 2 good episodes in a row, people lose their minds. No one's losing their minds because it doesn't happen. Every now and then someone will write to us and say, oh, I wish you guys had watched Raw. One of the hours was really good. It's everything else. It's a rotten promotion. And as someone who loves the stock market, everyone should dump their WWE stock. Why put any money into that crap?
Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to the Drive-Thru for unvarnished opinions, and the WWE just got shellacked by Brian Last.
Did I say anything?
Not a thing.
That you either don't agree with or isn't true?
Untrue, questionable, none of it. No, you were pretty much spot on.
It's awful. It's awful. They have so much money. They make money hand over fist, even with all the layoffs, which were unnecessary. They have tons of cash on hand. They make tons of money. They have a giant archive. They have some really talented people working there. And they blow it every chance they get. It's such a horrible show. I mean, I'm talking about the pay-per-view. Anytime I watch any of the television shows, every Friday, not every Friday, but some Fridays, if I'm flipping through the channels, because there's nothing on, I'll spend a few minutes on Fox and see what's on SmackDown. It's awful. Raw's unwatchable. NXT has gone downhill quick over the past year. They don't know how to make new stars. They drive off a lot of their stars. It's bad.
Sometimes they drive off some of their stars in the trunk of a car.
Vince McMahon wrestling in 2020 is awful. And I'd like to see someone there with some guts that tells him it's time to stay home. You're hurting everything. Everything you built, you're hurting. Jerk off.
Brian, I've known you for a long time now. I'd like to suggest that maybe you might want to speak to somebody.
Oh, yeah, who?
Well, I'll tell you, the folks at BetterHelp, they can match you up with a licensed professional therapist online and almost instantly. I mean, it's a quick process, and it's done securely as well. So maybe that, Brian, if you had somebody to talk to vent, to get your frustrations out, to get your emotions out, to help reconcile your thoughts before you take matters into your own hands. Something like that. But folks, if you don't have the problem of watching WWE program like almost everybody in the country these days and in the world, but you do have other problems and you want somebody to talk to that's not as filled with animosity as the great Brian Last, the folks at BetterHelp can help you. You can start communicating with a licensed professional therapist in under 48 hours. A broad range of expertise available. Obviously, nobody wants to go out these days in the midst of a pandemic. This is all online, but as well, these services may not be available in your areas if you were to try to find them. But this is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime, send messages to your counselor, schedule weekly video or phone sessions. They make it easy. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. You can go on their website, BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com. Read the testimonials. They're posted from folks all around the world. And you can visit BetterHelp.com/drive and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional and get 10% off your first month's services at BetterHelp.com/drive. Brian, I think you need to make the phone call. I'm sensing unresolved angst and hostility and anxiety between you and Vince McMahon.
You know, this brings to mind a good point. Considering the current state, the very sad state of professional wrestling, there should be wrestling therapists. Someone you can call and vent to and get it all out who actually know a thing or two about wrestling. You could talk to them about the booking problems you have, about the bad comedy and the song and dance routines, and they'll understand. Wrestling therapists. I think this is a great business.
No, hold on here, because here's the problem. The only people that would call about that would be the retired wrestlers having to watch it, because the current wrestlers are pretty much all working under the sadly mistaken opinion that wrestling is in some kind of renaissance and better than it's ever been. That's what you see on Twitter.
No, you misunderstood what I said. I'm not talking about a therapist for wrestlers. I'm talking about a wrestling therapist for wrestling fans.
Well, now there you go. Somebody to pour your heart out and explain why that your favorite thing is being embarrassed and made a mockery of on a weekly and daily basis on national television. How
That's
once
right.
a fine and proud hobby of yours has become a dirty secret and something you can't even enjoy because of the amount of dreck that you have to sift through to get to what you were watching the product for to begin with.
I just hate it. I hate it so much. Well, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to watch it every week and write about it on the internet.
Hey, we try to take some of that burden off people. That's why we watch, so you won't have to. Because we tell you everything that goes on.